blessings, everybody. Peace, 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 and blessings. Welcome to Royalty with Saran. Welcome to a special edition. First off the bat, let me apologize for a late start. But I promise you, the Kings have something special in store for all of us. And so we will flow. Again, apologies for the late start, but I'm going to start by introducing the Kings that we have. But first, let me do a little background. As you all may know, we did Queen Things 2 weeks ago, and that was a fire event. And because of the impact that it had and people really reaching out and that type of thing, I knew right off the bat it would only be fair to have a King's Forum, where we get the perspective and the insight from the Kings. I think the divine masculine, to be honest, it's a narrative that it's assumed. And so I think it's very fit to have the Kings on board, giving their unique perspective, clarifying things that we might have misconstrued about what they think and how they process things. So I'm honored to have you all live with me today. I will allow them to introduce themselves a little and then we get started. I have some really juicy questions for them. And I think the Kings will learn something. And the Queens, we're going to be thoroughly entertained while taking notes. All right. So peace and blessings, everybody. Thank you for joining me for Royalty with Saran. Today's theme is King's Court. So let's do this. I will start by introducing Wind. He's in the upper left corner. Tell us something about you, Wind.
I'm Wind. Peace and blessings, everybody. I am one of the four elements of the Four Elements United. We operate a podcast, not exclusively, but inclusively for Black men all across the diaspora. The onus is that, we need to increase our consciousness and function from thriving versus survival in this lifetime. So we operate that podcast on Four Elements United on YouTube. You can catch us there.
Okay. Right on.
All right. So, Gavin, what you got for us? Tell us a little about yourself. You're muted. You
got the name right. I'm a spiritual writer. I've always been interested in the betterment of the human experience. So I mostly write on Facebook, Instagram, and so on. My posts are generally geared towards male and female development.
Thank you so much, Gavin. Saran, Ras, what are you saying, Rastaman? Yes. Tell us about yourself.
Yes, sir. Well, greetings to all ones. Rasa is Saran, the name. I'm a bona fide Rastafari youth. For over 20 years, safely I can say it's much more than that, but over 20 years. I've just been a student of knowledge, generally speaking, love history and these things, do research into history, make an appearance on a number of different platforms, Melanated Nation, Priest Isaac, and so forth. Just talking about, history, spiritual matters, and so forth. I've never really gone out and talk about relationship matters. So this is actually my first outing where I would actually expound on that. And I have some experience, and some profound lesson I have learned. You understand? Through the living same way, in particular as it relates to the females and and relationship and so on. So I'm here to share what I've learned, basically.
Sounds good. Respect. One moment. I'm not hearing anything. Can you guys hear me on Zoom? Just let me know if I'm being heard. Rock, what's up, King?
Hey, peace and blessings to everybody here. My name is Rock. I live in South Carolina. I'm originally from Queens, New York. And I was born and raised as a Hebrew Israelite. And it was kind of like, put me on my journey on, Black awareness, upliftment for my people, because I always had that in my family. Me being raised as a Hebrew Israelite, you know what I'm saying? The brother who talked about he was a Rasta for 20 years, Hebrew Israelite, and a lot of Rastas I know are Hebrew Israelites. And when I was born, I used to have my hair in braids, and I had my hair ever since I was born, and I got a cut when I was like 14 years old because I got tired of it. You know what I'm saying? Because I had to have long hair. And back then in the 80s, in the early 80s and all of that, having locks wasn't the thing. People used to call me mop head and all of that kind of stuff because it wasn't really popular. You know what I'm saying? Everybody either had afros or Caesars, so me having like long locks, you know what I'm saying, because of my religion, you know what I'm saying? So, that's just another story. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this talking about relationships. I think that's something that needs to be talked about because a lot of Black men in particular need to know, you know what I'm saying, how to have successful relationships with beautiful Black women queens.
Yes,
so I'm looking
sir.
forward to it. Thank you.
All right. Peace and blessings. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. Hi, Joy. Thanks for joining. Isn't it a beautiful spread? Really nice to have the Kings on board. I'm responding to comments in the Facebook. So, quick, short question. 2 words to describe you. Wind. Let's go. Just 2. Any words that you think would be fitting.
Fierce and strong.
Fierce and strong. Gavin, what you got?
Wise and humble.
Wise and humble. Rasta?
Humility and respect.
Okay, that's right. Rock?
Enlightened and righteousness.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so I'm gonna bounce all over the place in terms of I'm gonna tap in on intimacy, go to platonic relationships, come back this way, fling you that way, and it's all intentional. Okay, so I'm going to start with the first questions. I did get some really nice questions from a few queens because I put it out. What questions do you want answered? And for those who are listening, both on Zoom and Facebook, if there are any questions that you want to throw at them, please just put it there, and I will certainly feed it to them. So, in light of social media and what's taking place now, you're on social media. There's a lot of I should say seemingly a great divide between the masculine and the feminine energies right now, right? There's a lot of push for the independent woman, I can do this all by myself type thing. And then there's a pushback coming from the kings as well, which suggests that, you have to bring something to the table and, we're no longer settling on that type of thing. And that's what we hear on a daily basis when you peruse social media. So with that in mind, I would like to find out what is your opinion as to the root cause for the divide? Rock, you want to start us off?
Well, the root cause of the divide is because we as men have to take full responsibility for everything. If a woman ain't acting right and it ain't the way you want her to be, you have to take full responsibility and realize that we have to correct ourselves in order for her to orient and, and be, the women that we want the women to be. You know what I'm saying? If we were, playing our roles as true, masculine men, and we weren't dropping the ball, we wouldn't have that what women are saying now.
Okay, good, interesting, very very nice. Let's go. Ison, what do you think? What's the root cause for the divide?
Well, clearly, I mean, okay, if we'll say here, for argument's sake, that both these energies are meant to work together. But you seem to have this battle going on that setting them apart. That will tend to indicate somewhere that maybe they're not aware of themselves. You see, and on a deep level. Because if you have self-awareness, you would understand the role of the feminine, and it would not be a problem. It cannot be a conflict. You understand? You would more in the mindset of a complementary. You understand? So therefore, this gulf will not be there. If the woman have this mindset that, yo, I have to pair up with a man, and this is the way, this is the art of creation, and so on and so forth, you cannot have a problem. A lot of the insecurities and so on about being independent and all the rest of it is a problem that is being trying to fix through social order. But the problem really is a deeper one. It is one of knowledge of self. Because you see, only when you become aware of your true self, that all your insecurities and these things fall away. Once we are without the awareness of our true self, then we are vulnerable, basically. Then we are now living on the definition of our physical side of our being. What family we come from, what gender we are, whether we're facially beautiful or ugly, or, you know, these kind of things. You understand? Which are really superficial. You can get in an accident and that whole pretty face can go on so. And all the rest of it. You know what I mean? So to me, these are fundamental issues. We might try to find answers for them on the surface by saying, well, you need to do this or you need to do that and so on and so forth. But they are more fundamental problems. I will expound a little bit more on this kind of demand thing that goes on in relationship between the feminine and the masculine, because everybody seems to be jockeying and they want to cut the best deal for themselves, and this is what the game seems to be all about. But when we get a little bit deeper, I'll expound some more on that. But that's my take. It's a fundamental issue.
Okay. Gavin, what do you think?
I think Ras and Rock hit some very important points with what they said. The fundamental problem that we're facing is a lack of understanding of how both parties need to play a part in the relationship. And as Rock said, this basically came from the male perspective first. We dropped the ball. And this goes right back to slavery, unfortunately. We lost the understanding of what the family is meant to be and what the roles within the family are meant to be. And because of that, we then went into this toxic masculinity. I do hate to use that term, but toxic masculinity, where we became dominating and we wanted to have the most women or the fanciest car. Our priorities just switched to things that were just not important. Now, in us switching our priorities because of lack of understanding, socialization, etc., we left a large void that women had to fill in for themselves. So whereas it was, say, a 50-50 arrangement, going forward, it was more like a 10-90. Women taking up a large portion of raising the children, educating the children, fending for themselves, and men were just wild. Now, even that being said, you can see that today in most societies. I'm in the Caribbean, so I can say you see the men who are stepping up, being loyal, hardworking, family-oriented, and then you see the other spectrum, those men who are just want to party all day, sleep with the maximum amount of women they possibly can. And this has caused women to now take up what most people would consider to be masculine roles and portraying therefore masculine energy. And then the problem comes up is that when one of these women who have been so burdened for so long comes upon a man who is willing, who is able, and can take on his proper roles, there's conflict. Because literally, you can't have two men in one house. It's not going to work out.
I get that. I get that loud and clear.
Yeah. But then you have the problem where, because they've been having these roles for so long, they now think that you're being dominating, controlling, etc. Whereas you're simply trying to take up the mantle you were supposed to hold.
Got you. Got you.
That's my take on it, basically.
Wind, tell
You
us.
guys expect the roster to be the deepest on the panel, but I'm gonna take it one step deeper, brother. So Ross said that it's a lack of knowledge of self. So the stem of our angst is that, and it's a function of white supremacy, our white capture, and our white and our people's subjugation. And so when you don't know who you are, you can't be who you are. When you don't know fundamentally that you are Black and that you need family to maintain, you have no idea who you are, and you have no commitment and no consciousness as to whether or not you're Black. Because if you did, you wouldn't function in the manner in which you function each and every day, interacting with one another each and every day.
Right.
So I'll pause right there.
Okay, so I think everybody touched on, the masculine playing their role. I hope it's not going to be a whole lot of repetition, but what is the masculine role? Or what is the king's role in the family? What is it to you? I know it's defined differently by different people, depending on who you ask, it differs. So what, in your opinion, is your role as a king?
If you look at it throughout history, I mean, in any culture, the role is defined. It's in stone. We educate, we provide, and we protect. Those are our roles. That's where we fill in.
Okay. Does everybody agree with that? Is there any other different role?
Yeah, I agree with that, but I'm gonna take it as a little bit a step further. I believe that when you provide, that's one of the number one things in providing, and one of the number one reasons why I became an entrepreneur, because the majority of my life I've been an employee working for the white man or whatever you want to call that, and I've seen when you're working for this man is like, this man is, I mean, so I had to be self-sufficient and become my own boss, because I said, man, this ain't right, man. Me taking orders from this white man and he telling me what to do, and you know what I'm saying? And I call myself a provider. I'm looking for him to provide for me. I need to switch and go to the Most High God for my provider and take this leap of faith and be an entrepreneur and be a provider for, my wife, my children, my family. But I'm producing that money from me being an entrepreneur with the help of the Most High God, as opposed to a white man. Now, you know what I'm saying? So that's one of the things, is providing, you know what I'm saying? And providing, you know what I'm saying? And, people going to other, like, a white man for, that's just, I'm totally against that. And I believe that we as Black people in the community have to be self-sufficient as far as like pulling together and having our own communities and being the owners of our own communities, owning the real estate in our communities, owning the stores in our communities, you know what I'm saying? And that provide that goes down from providing, you know what I'm saying? And really being, that provider, protector for your woman and community. You know what I'm saying? Because in most Black communities here in United States, you have Black people living in the community, and you have other people owning the community. All black people do is just live there. You have other people who are not black who own the real estate, who own the stores, and black people go and consume. You know what I'm saying? So when you provide, you know what I'm saying, it has to be a provide from a perspective that being a king, the word king comes from providing, is that you have to have an abundance. Like what the brother Wynn was saying, not just survive, but thrive. When we take care of our families, our goal is to thrive, not just survive. You know what I'm saying? To be successful. It seems like it became this humble nobility thing that we have to just be surviving to get by. You know what I'm saying? We should, you know what I'm saying, shoot for the stars and, you know, provide for our wives, children, you know what I'm saying, with the abundance of wealth, because the more money you have, the more, you know what I'm saying, college education you can provide for your children, better healthcare, better everything. You know what I'm saying? So the masculine role is definitely being a provider. You know what I'm saying? But being a provider in abundance, as far as like thriving. And a protector also. A protector to know that she's safe. You know what I'm saying? When you're with her, and you'll protect the woman and the family and community from, you know, outside people such as police or whatever. If you see a police officer in the community, you know, doing something that's not right to another, you know, black man or woman, you know what I'm saying, you check him. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So, you know, we just have to provide and protect. And I believe that's one of the roles, you know what I'm saying, in masculinity, and being an example. You know what I'm saying? Being a positive example. You know what I'm saying? And when I say positive, I mean truly, you know what I'm saying, a positive example of, you know, success.
Okay. All right. Saran, you want to add anything to that?
Okay, well, I mean, where the economic side of things is concerned, well, I'll have to endorse what Rakov just said, and you know, a lot of what Gavin has said as well.
Yeah.
But to me, the part that's missing out of relationship is the purpose part of it. You see, everything that we talk about, even how we define the role of the sexes in the relationship, these are all handed down ideas. You see it? These ideas are ideas that come out from probably people you call social engineers. Because the way how the man is functioning in this system is according to a design. And we also ascribe our role in terms of protector and all this. I mean, I don't want to sound as if, well, I am one of these guys who can stand up and fight. But let's bear in mind, you have a lot of men who are not exactly big, strong wrestler, warrior, hero.
It's all
they
here.
Can reproduce with a woman and everything like that. So when you make it as if, well, this guy have to be the protector and the strong one and all that kind of thing, and you have so many men that do not really fit that kind of ilk, what do you say of that in terms of their manhood? Like
may I interject? May I say one thing real fast and I'll let you continue? Mentally, everything is mental. Physical is nothing. Because if it was physical, the black man would have never been enslaved by the white man. It's mental.
No, I can understand that, but how do you mentally protect a woman from an attacker, let's say?
Remember, it's chess, not checkers. It's how you move. You know what I'm saying? How you structure and strategize.
I was just touching those points because to me, it's almost like we're creating a particular model that we want all the different spectrum of male to fit into.
Okay.
And I think perhaps we
I can add to that. See, to protect means basically to put into a feeling of safety. That means financially, emotionally, mentally. The woman must feel, and the children also must feel, that the father in the relationship gives this to the household, to the family.
Okay, let me ask you this. As I made reference just a while ago to social engineering, What if the way that the society is engineered, it is designed in a way that certain people, as male, having, let's say, okay, you had this responsibility on the male shoulder, and the way the system is, it doesn't allow for certain amount of these people to be able to do the things that you're talking. What will be these guys' value? If
The
they
only
can't do all this financial thing and all these things, what will be their value ultimately?
That's
You
a
see,
good question.
when we make
let me let Win answer
standard
that.
like that,
He looks like you want to say something.
huh?
Let me let Win answer that. He looks like you want to say something.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
All right.
No, I'm
Okay.
putting it in because you see, I'm putting reality on the
I
table here.
get what
No,
you're
no,
doing, I turn.
no. Hey, I got an answer for you.
Yeah, I'm putting reality on the table because
Yeah. No,
there have a lot of us out here. You have people that come out of college, huge degree and all the rest of it, and just cannot find a proper job to make a proper decent living for themselves.
I have an answer for
So
that.
what do you say about a guy who's in that position and not able to deliver these things? What is his value as a man? He
But
failed.
hold on. Let me answer you.
Okay.
Okay. So you brought up several points, and I'm going to address all of them. One,
Respect.
education. A man going to school for 10, how much odd years to get a degree to then get a job to be able to be financially viable. That's one aspect. Not everybody can fulfill that. You have laborers, you have educators, you have politicians. There's a wide spectrum of work you can get as a person. But if you limit yourself to one avenue, you can fail because there's many people on that same road. So if I went to school to be, say, a psychologist, and I realized I can't get a job as a psychologist that's going to pay me anything, I'm going to go pick up a hammer and a nail, learn a trade, and then build myself up that way till I can put my foot in the door that gives me avenue to practice what I learned. Your only limitation in terms
So
of earning money is what you're willing to do. That's one thing.
And
Second,
go ahead.
let him continue.
Secondly, societal limitations. What I'm allowed to do. Say, okay, I don't live in America, but say there's a hierarchy of, white men get this level of job and I get this level of job. That's where Brock came in with his statement of entrepreneurship. Everybody needs a service. Every single person, regardless of their color, ethnicity, etc. And if you can provide the best service in the society we live in today, people will use you, regardless of the bigotries.
That's true. That's true. Very true.
So that
I
now is
just
not.
I just wanna bring in some of the comments that are coming in from Facebook. Peace and blessings, Sharian. Hi, Sylvia. Dawn, thank you. I'm looking at all of the comments coming in, especially from Dawn. Thank you so much for sharing. She was adding I guess she was piggybacking on what Gavin was saying concerning finding another avenue of bringing income in. So she was saying farming still going on,
Yep.
fishing, learning skills to help his family and that type of thing. I just wanted to bring those comments into the conversation. There's no excuse for anyone to shoulder their responsibility. All right, Dawn, I hear you. Wind, do you have anything to add on?
I was about to really that last statement that you made, Saran. I was about to ask of Gavin the same thing. That means no failure is genuine or acceptable. Everybody that failed is because they're worthless. They didn't try other things. Is that what we're saying?
I have an answer for you. You want the answer?
Tell me.
Given how many avenues you have in life to succeed, if you choose not to take one, you have written your own failure. You cannot blame it on a white man. You can't blame it on anything else.
No. Hold on. Don't go there. Don't color it. What is success for you then? If I'm a garbage man that make $150 a week, what would my success look like in terms of providing a decent standard of living for my family?
You're making $100 a week. That's an income.
Of course, it's hypothetical, but I'm just trying to show you something here.
No, I
because
can answer you.
It would seem to me that depending, hold for a while, let me just throw a couple more things in. It would seem to me then that we perhaps will have to have different standard for men that work for different level of salary, because success would not look the same way for all of these. You can have the floor now.
Okay. Success can look the same way for all of them if you take in the hypothetical of what success is. Success in terms of relationship of a man being provider means that you provide a certain standard of living for your household, a certain level of cleanliness, a certain level of let's say, okay, back in the day there was the outside latrines. Now we have inside bathrooms. If that's the standard, you provide that standard. You don't have to be making $1 million a month or $10 a month. It doesn't make a difference. Bringing into account what you said about the garbage man, make him making $100 a week. Okay. Let's say he's the only provider for that family. Out of that $100 a week, our issue as Black people is we spend the entire $100. Out of that $100, 40% of that money should go towards saving, towards investment. Because even our grandparents, when they were working for 96 cents a day or whatever the case may be, an hour, they managed to build proper homes.
Right.
And then they integrated into those homes over time. So the limitation is not on the pay, it's how you use it. And that depends on the strength of mind.
I beg to differ. You can socially engineer a society. This is the reason why they say that majority of the people in a society are consumers. People
let me use me as an example. At this point in time in my life,
I don't find you having any sensitivity at all.
No, it's not about sensitivity, and that's the problem with our society. We're too sensitive.
No. This is not too sensitive. This is giving consideration to certain human beings that are necessary in the situation that they can do all of these good things that we're talking about. And what would their value be because of that? What would you look down at them and snub at them for being
that's where the community comes in. That's where the community comes in. Because at the end of the day, as Black people, we should be encouraging and uplifting each other. So if you see someone at a standard and you're able to assist them to elevate that standard, you do so. It doesn't rest on the shoulders of one man alone. That can never be the case. That wasn't the case in Africa. That wasn't the case in Europe, China, Egypt. Nowhere in this world does a man's viability rest on his shoulders alone. That's why they have the family unit. That's why they have the community. That's why they have social groups. So if
but we were specifically talking about the role of the man himself.
Okay.
So when I'm thinking about that, I'm not thinking about how the society can help this man.
No problem.
We are saying that he's supposed to do these certain things. Him. Not with the society's help. Him.
Let me
go and look a job and those kind of things and deliver these things. So I'm just trying to put reality on the table here and say, listen, it is really not as simple as how we talk about the thing like that. It's really not that straightforward.
No, it is. It is. Let me use me as an example. At this present point in time, I'm an IT systems administrator, professional, whatever you want to call it. When I first started working, this is 1980, how long? My first position was working as an intern in an IT computer company, where I was literally earning less than $50 a week. Sometimes I would take nothing home, probably $20 a week. I did that for 6 months, learning my trade. And I did have a girlfriend at the time. She was understanding and supportive. We worked together however we could. But the mission was, this is my direction, this is my trade, this is what I'm going to learn. I moved from that internship to a position within a firm, to supervisor level in a year, to manager level a year after that. And every single position I've ever held in my life has been an elevation from base to upper management. And that's through my drive and wanting to succeed. So succeed doesn't look the same way. Succeed can look the same way for everyone. All it is an elevation from one level to another. If I have a field going corn, in 5 years I have a plan to have 2 fields, one going corn, one going rice. And that's my plan. I'm putting 10% of what I'm earning down, not troubling it, until 5 years pass, I buy another piece of land, and then another piece of land. And the next thing you know, I have 5 acres. I have 1 house, a little board shack in the back. I know working for money, I can probably afford to go rent a bigger house and spend my whole check. But let me live in a little board house. Put aside these funds, or invest this fund into another business, earn some dividends. And then in 5 years, bam, move from board house to concrete. I have 1 fishing boat. I'm working for a man on that fishing boat. I gain my salary. I put up my salary. 5 years from now, I'm my own boat, pulling in my thing. And then I begin hiring people.
Gavin, 2 things. You're speaking a very ideal kind of game there. You just have a boat and you move up to so on and so forth. It doesn't take into consideration.
I had steps. The steps are what are important. If you look from one endpoint to another endpoint, everything will always be impossible.
No. Hold on. You need to really understand where I am coming from.
Okay.
All right. I consider myself as a dropout out of St. Kernan School, primary school, never go secondary, to be a success.
Yes.
All right.
But
I don't walk around. But I don't go around. Hold on. I don't go around using how I apply myself in life as the standard, because I do not know other people's circumstance and a whole lot of other things that just determine how a person succeed or not. So I would not sit down, for example, and say that, okay, I left from here and go to there and go to there. Everybody can do it that kind of way. I can say that as a matter of human potential. You understand?
Yes.
But faith, in terms of actual real life on the earth living, in a work like how we line up the ideal and reason it out so. In a really work like that.
But then come back to what you just
said.
Life
include other dynamics.
But I get that, but coming back to what you just said, if you recognize and appreciate the fact, not the thought, but the fact that you have the potential to elevate yourself to the highest level within your own reality, nothing can stop you if you properly plan and organize that elevation. Once you reach a hurdle, you deviate your plan. That is how simple it is. Most people reach a roadblock and then just stop at that roadblock. Or they think themselves powerless, and that is not the case.
I believe majority of human being under your system is just worthless.
How so? Because
they have to be worthless because most human beings don't have that game going on.
No, but that's the thing.
They don't have that game going on, so they must be worthless.
But they can have that going on, and it is through the interaction with people such as yourself, Rock, Win, Saran, that they can gain the motivation to be able to put themselves on those paths.
No, listen. I want you to get me good, you know. I think you're countering everything I say without really seeing what's back of my concern in this line of reasoning. Everything that you're saying is absolutely correct and positive. I want to put that on the table. So you don't even have to elaborate a lot more with a lot more examples because I'm with you with that. I just know according to life, earth living, and how earth run, it doesn't work out that way for everyone. And my simple question is, okay, if it doesn't go that way, what value do we ascribe to people that find themselves in that category?
I was a
Because
garbage man for
you
4
see, in
years.
other words, we cannot make the value of the human being primarily hinge on economic things. We cannot do that. Everything that is defining what the man is have to do with something that he can do economically.
No, because I had set out several things. Because financial was one. Financial came under protection. There's also wisdom and education, which we should provide, and guidance, which we should provide to the youth, of spouses, etc.
So let me
So
ask
there
you
are many
this.
different roles that come in. Whether you're successful at that role or not really depends on how much you're willing to apply yourself. I get what you're saying in
So
terms of
I
reality.
don't want to.
No, Win was supposed to say something. He's supposed
Go
to have
ahead,
his say
Win.
on the question.
Go ahead, Win.
Win was supposed to elaborate on the question that you had. He ain't get his chance.
Oh, yeah,
That's true. The role.
No, it's fine. I was curious as to what Cern's position is on what a man ought to be. What is you saying that they ought to have no role, that everything ought to be neutral and everything should be equal and peace?
Oh, no. I mean, this is why I say, well, generally speaking, everything that Gavin is saying, I agree with it. But I'm just looking at the point that, listen, we got to bear in mind here, right, that the society that we live in, and so it has defects. It is, the way it is structured and everything, it's socially engineered. And the people who does it, they can do certain things in terms of how they set the structure that ensure that only certain amount of people meet certain kind of success and so forth. So when we speak this way, we put an amazing amount of pressure, and this can happen on both sides of the sex, right? We put an amazing amount of pressure on one another to try to live up to things that they are already forces or elements within the social structure to undermine the very effort we are trying to make to be successful. And then what we have now is a lot of finger pointing about you not manning up, you dropping the ball. I'm not saying these things doesn't happen, mark you, but this is becoming a kind of common theme, and it is now coming across in very general terms where man is concerned now.
Russ,
I'm concerned about those things, and nothing is ever absolute like that.
Russ, if you realize, you made the statement, everything I said was positive. And that is the direct.
Yeah, in terms of material achievement, yes.
Yeah, hold on. Everything I said is positive because, how can I put this? I am not, whereas I'm aware of the negative currents that are acting against every single individual in this world, the mere fact is, if you look at the journey and decide that it is too hard for me, or I've reached a stumbling block and that is it, you will not push forward.
No. I'm okay. There are people here, right, that are trying. They're not. They're just barely keeping their heads above water. They have not given up. Hold on. They have not given up. Their head is above water, but they can't quite knock the ball out of the park. They're not giving up. It's not like they give up on life. Why they don't have the glitz and the lights and all the rest of it. There are many people. Hold on. There's many people that struggle it out with that head just above water and doesn't manifest the kind of thing that we look at and say, wow, that's successful.
Okay.
Because he finally get himself a car and start walking, that he can drive the children to school and things of that sort.
Let me say this. Let me say
they have not given up, but this been their fate right through.
No, but if you try
Wait,
something and you realize it's not working, or you realize you're being kept at a certain level, you do something else.
Yo, y'all gotta let Win talk.
yeah,
He's supposed to
when
answer the
what you
question,
say,
and he gotta give his input because we all got our input in
Yeah,
from
go ahead, Win.
Saran's
Sorry
question.
about that. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
So Win
So
gotta
so
go.
what I was
He
gonna
just
say,
spoken. We
CERN,
all spoke.
what I was gonna say is that our
Uh-huh.
CERN is 100% correct. I mean, our whole way of being, you know, our the construct of masculine, feminine, and all that is inherited, right? I agree with that. The second thing you said is that
Excuse me.
there's a system that's in place, and that system is white supremacy, and so it's against our culture. You know what I mean? Our nature.
okay,
To,
so
to, go ahead.
no, go ahead, when.
Well, what I was gonna say is that we are at odds with one another, and we have these particular frameworks because of white supremacy. See, when you talk about that there's a new wave of this way of being around money. Money has always been in existence. Money is not necessarily, you know, the piece of paper that you put in your wallet. I mean,
Okay.
currency is anything that you assign value to. So for instance, those bottles behind you, Ross, you know, have a particular currency, right?
Right.
That door behind you has a particular currency.
Right.
Your glasses that you have on your face has a particular currency.
Right.
So there's always been, you know, your capacity, your whatever your profession is, that is a major currency that you can exchange with other people all around the world.
Right on.
Not only with physical money, but actual other types of currency.
True.
Very true.
So originally a man has a larger frame than a woman. Would that be accurate?
Yes.
A larger physical frame, Ross?
True.
I'm speaking
Okay,
to
yes,
Ross.
I respect.
All right. So
Mhm.
the distinction between a man and a woman's physical frame, that's currency. And so bigger men had larger currency than smaller men. But so what I'm getting at is that at the end of the day,
Nah, I think it's
men
more
are
mental.
supposed to be leaders. And
Okay.
so we've always dealt with some type of currency. One man was faster than the other man, one man was stronger than the other man, and all that. But I agree to the extent that at the end of the day,
It's mental.
regarding this structure called roles, that we still have to be collaborative and love one another. If we don't have a spirit of collaboration and a spirit of love, ain't none of this shit gonna work.
Correct.
Okay, got you, Win. So I want to pull in an
Thank
entire
you.
different topic altogether. So
Oh.
let's talk about. Yeah, I know, Rock. You want to stay on it a little longer.
No. It's interesting. I
We're
like what I'm
dancing
hearing.
somewhere else.
I'm
And
like you
just
going to
before
another
I
topic.
speak, there were a
True,
lot of
true.
comments coming in
Interesting.
on what you guys were saying. Anyhow, I'm going to bring in the macro, like old people say. My question to you is, okay, so completely different altogether. We're talking about dating. I know two of you kings are married, but let's just go back to the days of dating and that type of thing.
Okay.
In today's context, right? Like I said, because of the nature of conversation now on social media and things like that, it's often it's given to the woman as she just wants money and that type of thing, and you know the natural response from men will differ person to person. So my question to you is a very superficial one.
Okay.
intentionally, you're inviting a prospective mate out on a date, right? Who's paying?
I would say it all depends on how you want to put it. Because when you're dating, you know what I'm saying? Dating is different dynamics. Because I've had in dating relationships that when I made the women pay, she was more attracted to me because of the challenge. Even though I'm financially able to do it, you know what I'm saying? I just did it just to be challenging and fun. And women, I mean, they ate it up. I mean, they loved it. It was like a fun, it was like adventurous type of thing. You know what I'm saying? But if I had to pay, I would pay. But I just do it to challenge it, and many women who I've dated actually loved it because that's something that they don't get. It's like counterintuitive, and the way I do it is like a playful banter, and so. I mean, but in
No,
realistically, seriously, I will pay for it. But to make the challenge and to make the dating more interesting, I would see if she paid for it, and if she chooses, I will let her pay.
okay. I
Okay,
Fern,
I
you
got to
paying
charge.
or she paying? Or
I got.
y'all splitting it Dutch, like they say, half and half?
I'm the kind that will foot the bill, man.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Got
Particularly if I am the one that asks her out. Yeah, man.
okay.
I'm going to
Full
be
fee.
controversial.
Tell us. Well, you're married, so I guess
Yeah.
you can be.
I'm going to be controversial. At the end of the day, the beginning of the relationship, the whole courtship part of it, sets the standard for the relationship going in.
Mhm.
If I want to take you out and I ask you, then fine, I should pay. If you want to take me out, and you should be asking me out as well, if we're getting to know each other, then you should pay.
That's what my pops used to say.
Yeah. If
That's what my
if
dad
we,
used to say all the time. Yeah,
yeah, if
yeah.
we decide to come together and we're gonna go to
Wow.
this very fancy whatever, or this vacation weekend whatever, then we should flip that. We should flip that equally.
Mm.
If we come together and we decide we want to go on an island tour or whatever, we should flip that 50-50.
Wow.
Wind,
I
tell
don't see
us.
no argument
But
there.
That's
because
interesting.
the basis of this is this.
Uh,
This whole courtship is going to lead to exclusive dating, which is going to lead to eventually marriage. And in a marriage, everything is supposed to be dealt with equally when it comes to financial gain. If I'm making more than you, I should put in the percentage amount equal to that, and you should as well, because we both have a stake in what's going on.
got you. Wind, what you say?
At the end of the day, all men pay. Women never pay.
We pay one way or
Even
another.
when you think that they
One way or
pay,
another.
you just pay big time.
Yeah, but seriously, Gavin, I mean, the way you reason it, I mean, I can't see it going any other way as a matter of principle. If she's the one that come up with the idea to take you out, well, of course she's gonna pay. And if you're the one that come up with the idea to go out, to take her out, of course you're the one that came up with the idea. So you got to
Yeah,
do
no,
it.
trust me.
And just as you say,
I know
if
friends.
both of you come together and decide to go and spend a weekend, you split the bill.
Yeah.
If you
But
asking me,
I'll add
personally,
in, I mean, if you're not in too much of a position, I'll put it same way.
I think
Got
I mean,
you.
it starts with the
And that's
discussion.
exactly what was expressed on Zoom just a
Yeah,
while ago.
I'll
It
do
has
that,
a
man.
lot to do with whether the person is able or not. And
But if you know you're not able and you want to be invited out or you want to take somebody out, how does that work?
No. I'm saying
No,
in
not to
the
you,
situation.
Ras. Not to you.
Oh,
I
sorry.
I get what you're saying.
Okay, but
Um,
all right, Saran. So, okay, say that it's a lady. She's not earning that much, or she has a family to take care of, whatever the case may be, and she decides she wants to go out, or she wants to treat the man that she's dating. Then fine. It doesn't have to be a going out thing. It doesn't have to be a restaurant or whatever. Cook him a meal, take him to the beach, have a little picnic. You know what I mean? You spend what, $40, $30, and then the thing about men on a general, generally, we're simplistic. We appreciate whatever little a woman gives because we are so not accustomed to getting.
Woo!
Oh gosh,
Wow.
what am I so brutal with my words?
No, I'm being straight up.
Yeah.
We're so not accustomed.
Oh yeah.
If she
Come
say that,
on,
hey, come home
man.
tonight, I'm gonna put it on some hot water and massaging your foot, a man would be overjoyed. That is
Okay.
just the case. But if it is like you
I
want to
mean,
go
you
to
put
a
that
restaurant
in
that costs $300 and you're not paying the bill, that's the problem.
Got you.
Yeah, it's not for me. It's obviously for you.
Okay, wait. Somebody saying the same thing too. Go where she can afford. Go where he can afford. If you're the one initiating, then you should make sure that you can handle the expense.
Well,
True.
let me say this. I think all men should pay for every date. And this is why I say that. First of all, it'll make you more intentional about who you choose. And hopefully that intention of who you with, you expect to be your wife. And so if you have that expectation and you go in with that intent, you should want to take care of her from the very start.
I gotta disagree with you.
Where's it, Gavin?
Well, if you're an older adult, it depends on how old you are and where you are in the dating scene. But I'm talking about serious, intentional.
And this is the problem we have. That's a quick statement, Rock. This is a problem we have in our society, especially when it comes to women. Women are going out there treating men like husbands that are supposed to be treated like boyfriends. And men are going out there treating women like wives that should only be friends.
Got you.
And it's setting the wrong starting line for the relationship.
I agree with you.
Okay.
You see?
It weirds the women out.
You got to be intentional.
When you talking about wifey material and y'all really even know each other, y'all just dating. It kind of like spooks the women out. They're like, whoa. You know what I'm saying? Well, this is coming, you know what I'm saying? From women that you know what I'm saying, from what I've seen in my experience when I was dating. And
that's the good men finish last thing.
Yeah. And also I've noticed that when you always pay with women, and this is when I was dating, you know what I'm saying? This is when I was dating. Women like challenges and they like, you know what I'm saying, if they're able to contribute also. You know what I'm saying? So they feel that, you know what I'm saying? I've seen, times when guys try to use money, but money is not really the it all be all. It's really your personality, you know what I'm saying? Your fun, your communication style. You know what I'm saying? It's really not about money like how men tend to think about with women. Women just want to have a good time. You know what I'm saying? A guy with good communication skills with an amazing personality. And if a guy don't have that, I've seen guys compensate that with money. And it winds up being they just shelling out money or not using their creative personality or their creative adventurous side to have fun. Because when I go out on a dating scene with a woman, I only go out to eat just to fill up and then to eat. And then the next thing we're doing is an adventure. I don't go out on a date just to eat. That's whack to me. You know what I'm saying? We only going to go to eat to have a full stomach. And then we're doing an adventure. You know what I'm saying? That's how I get down when I'm dating.
Let me ask a question to the panel. Can I?
Yeah, sure.
Definitely.
We all discussed it. That's my thing.
What would be the purpose of a relationship? Everyone take the turn and let's go to that.
That's actually one of the questions. So go right at it. That's one of my questions.
Okay. No.
What is the essence of having a mate? What is what is your expectation? Because again, it differs from person to person. Some persons are interested in a relationship with the expectation of marriage and children and all that kind of stuff. However, others, it's not like that. They're willing to be in a committed relationship, and that's the hierarchy of it. That's the end all and be all. So tell us. what is it for you? What's, you know, what's the intention behind finding your mate? And
Well,
go ahead.
let's deal with the word. Let's deal the root word of the name relationship, right? I'm going through this reasoning because some years ago I learned a very important lesson going through a hurting situation, right? And I end up they have a book they call Conversation with God, written by Neil Donald Welch. I don't know if anybody in the panel familiar with that book.
Yes.
But in chapter 8 of that book, it illustrated a certain concept, right, about the purpose for relationships. So I'm going to go along that line because that concept has been my lifeboat in dealing with relationship situation. That changed the whole game for me in a dramatic way. The word relationship comes from relate, relation, right? And relating, whether it's from human to human, even from human to animal to object, whatever, it is that dynamic that make us grow. You understand?
Right.
Make us go emotionally and so forth. The relating thing. So fundamentally, relationship is really to help you grow emotionally, spiritually. Okay? Because if you put a woman on her own, as we are seeing now, all of the things that man saying he can buy and he can pay for the whole dinner and the date and everything, we have women out, they can do that for themselves. All right, so let's say, okay, the woman do not want anything from you materially. You do not want anything from her materially. Your pocket full of money, same way. What then would be the purpose for the relationship? It strip it right down to the quality of the relation between the two individuals. Now, relationship, there's a certain chemistry involved in relationship, in that whenever you get with a person, the other person always tend to bring out the weaker part of your character, and you do the same for them. Now, oftentimes when that happens, sometimes war does break out. You understand? Conflict does break out over this, but really, when this thing float up on the surface, the weaker part of ourselves float up on the surface. If we are using relationship for growth, then we would understand that this thing that floats up on the surface is a part of me that need addressing, that need healing, that need wholeness. And so our whole reaction would be very different when these things float up.
Yeah.
You understand? So you see that that show away all the material, all the societal standard about the role of man, and it comes right down to how you and this human being can live amicably. How you can grow together into self-realization. Because see, when you find self-realization, all the things that love dictate, all the nice things that we have to write a whole scroll to give to our partner for, once they find themselves, all of these things will come already packaged to deliver to the partner on both sides.
Correct.
Right.
So if we use relationship primarily, the other part are important too, but primarily for the purpose of growth. So if you're a person now that you have a temper problem or a patient problem, and when you're in the relationship now, different things happening that your partner trying your patience, and you now start attacking the partner as being the one that caused you to lose control of yourself and all the rest of it, you totally lose focus of the purpose for the relationship. If when that happens, you now check yourself and say, wow, anger is coming out of me, I can kill my girlfriend, I can destroy my children, whatever. I have to keep this energy under control. I got to get my low self-discipline.
Right.
Then you will go there.
Yes.
Then you will find out whatever imperfection is on both sides of the spectrum, You can bear it out anytime anybody falls short.
Yeah, I hear that.
You see, because of what the purpose of the relationship for. You have once you have that forefront and you're guided by that, then it fixes everything else. Then there's no big question and argument and having lists on both sides for what you should be doing and what me should be doing. Because all the things that we list for each other to do, male and female, they're all sponsored by love. If you're really loving, love will make you do all of them without any instruction from your partner.
That's true.
So to me, the key to make it work is to make the relationship be about growing together into realization. Because both persons will have the task of having to discipline their emotions, their thoughts, and all these different things in order for them to get along harmoniously with the other person and vice versa. And that will ensure that things go forward. And even if you have problems, you can always mend them up. Always.
Got you. Got you. When you were going to chime in?
Yeah, so what I was going to say is that everything our Saran is said is right and exact. But the only thing is that's from the individualistic perspective. And let me just give you the collective perspective. From a primal space, right? We are animals and we procreate.
A little louder, Wind.
We are animals, right? From a primal perspective, we are all animals, right? And so all animals have an innate desire, innate mechanism to cause relationship and to procreate. That's how they succeed one another, right?
Right.
So what I'm saying is that we
Five.
Being real, I got 5.
You're busy, man. You're busy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But where I was going with this is that, you know, one of the problems in our community is that we don't have we don't know ourselves and we don't have a purpose, right? And so the purpose of relationship in our community from a collective perspective is to incrementally grow from generation to generation and build significant and substantive things for our community.
Right on.
And so that's the reason why we ought to be getting together. And if we don't have a particular purpose, then our relationship is, like I said, is always going to be crazy. Always be crazy. If you think it's about, you know, money or the WAP, you crazy.
It's not. Yeah.
Hey, Saran, I'm not going to add anything to this discussion because the guys just hit it straight on.
Yeah.
But today,
that was well said.
Today I had a discussion with someone. This is going to build on what they said. Today I had a discussion concerning what love is, because most people go into relationships seeking love or wanting love and that kind of thing, and it boils down to this: love is not an emotion. Love is a concept, an ideology. Love is a thought. Love is an action. In a relationship, what causes pain and disappointment is desire. Okay?
Sure.
Your desire to want is that you want this from that person, and when you don't get it, you're angry or you're sad and that kind of thing. But if you keep love as a thought and embrace it as a thought, then it happens without tying in an emotion to it. I love you, so therefore I do this. I love you, so therefore I speak in this way. I love you, so therefore these are the interactions I will have. And you keep it mental. And then your desires are completely different things, because desires come and go. I mean, I might desire ice cream now, but I may want a salad later. But if love is mental and you look at it from a mental perspective, it's 10 times more powerful, because it cannot be affected by any external force.
Let me affirm Gavin and put it in different terms. Love is a commitment. It's a declaration, and it's activities in alignment with that declaration.
Yep.
I agree.
That's
I
right.
definitely agree.
Right on.
And I'm looking at one of the questions coming in. Dawn, forgive me, I'm gonna get back to your question at the top, but I'm gonna skip to Sylvia's question. What are the qualities a man looks for in a woman to make her his wife?
Be his peace.
Be his peace.
That's it. All
Be his peace. Go ahead.
For the amount of turbulence within societally within a man's life, there's two places he goes to in order to escape. That's his woman and his home. So the biggest demand a man will ever have of his mate is to be his safe space, to be his peace, to be the area where he's understood. And that's it. Everything else can fall into place after that, but that's the biggest thing.
Well, let me say this: a woman can never be your peace if she don't know her own purpose.
Very true. Very true.
And she don't know and understand your purpose. She can never be your peace. So what every woman needs to have is knowledge of self.
But you have to teach her.
That's your answer to the question.
But
They
you
need to
have
have
to
knowledge
teach.
of self, and they need to have purpose to have a sustaining relationship over time.
Okay.
Now you can get in a relationship, but is it sustainable?
Is it healthy?
Is it healthy?
Yeah, that's what.
Health is a function of that sustainability, because if it ain't healthy,
No, there's lots of stuff you can sustain that is healthy, man. I know people smoking for years. And
no, I'm talking about a relationship. I mean, a relationship between two people, not no inanimate object or anything like that, but two people. You're not going to sustain that over time, bro.
I know a few people, man. I know a few people.
Yeah. There are people that can sustain those things for unbelievably long time. But you just have to say, well, maybe they cut out for that rule.
I said that healthy is a function of that sustainability. I'm not talking about faking a funk and just staying.
Oh,
that's a distinction.
Okay, respect. But Gavin, yeah, I completely square with that peace thing. Yeah. Give me that. And for me, peace don't mean that you may not be a bit of a handful and you have your own way about you that, I'm challenged by and all these kind of things, right? It doesn't have to do that. As I say, if you're the kind of person that I can speak with, you understand, and we have an understanding and we have the maturity to, okay, if you're wrong, and do these kind of things, that's my peace. Because I'm not looking for a situation where I never have an argument. I never have a disagreement. I just want to be able to reason with this person when we have it, and we can put love in the center and resolve this thing and move along, team up on the problem, rather than go at each other's throat.
Got you.
You understand? Once I have a person with me that want to come to, because you can only do this when you come to know yourself. I mean, this is no costume business. You understand? This is no, you adopt woke language and wear crystals and do stuff like that, and all of a sudden you're there.
Yes.
You understand? You gotta want to do the grind and discipline yourself and do what's necessary to grow spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
It's important, because when you come to know yourself, you do not look to the man for certain security.
Right. So I guess you're agreeing with both Wind and Gavin.
Yeah, absolutely. You see, what I learned is that each person supposed to be whole within themselves.
Yes.
And then come together and share their wholeness.
Yes, exactly.
It's not supposed to be, you make my life complete. Because if you come in and you make it complete, and as fate would have it, you decide to depart, I'm in splinters.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's one the thing. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Rasta.
Yeah, I was about to say, well, that's one the important lesson that I learned, because I come to an experience where I get to see a difference in how the love impulse is when you are unaware spiritually and when you are aware. You understand? That by itself can be a whole different topic, but there really is a big difference. You see, when you come out of the mindset of the other person in your life making you happy and whole and all this thing, and come into the mindset that your happiness is grounded in your knowledge of self.
Yes.
You understand? And that what the other person bring actually is like almost like a surplus. You understand? So if that is removed from you, you still have a basic foundation that you can stand. When the other person make your life complete and they're about to leave and you see your whole world is going to melt down like wax, that is what sometimes make man kill and all kind of crazy stuff happen at point of breaking up. Because we place the other person at a certain position in our life that they ought not to really be. And then we put certain expectation upon them, and that within itself sometimes does create a lot of pressure, a lot of toxicity that does break down relationship also. You know what I mean? But there's a really big difference. I go through a hurt and I try to find somebody to blame. I look on the guy that end up with the girl, try to blame him. My mind counter and say, how can you, what can you do to stop a man from trying? You can't blame the man if you throw a few words and the woman take it on. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? So I have to turn from that. Now I turn to the woman and I start thinking about, oh, I have done this for you, done that for you, done. And my thoughts come again to my mind and call to me and say, listen, you can't vex with her if she make a decision that she thinks will bring her happiness.
Correct.
Even if you know or you think that she's making a huge error, she have the right to make that decision. So you can't blame her because she make the decision. Right. That caused me now to have to look on me. Exactly. And what I found out is I create the hurt. Yes. As the man minister earlier, through desire. I had a tunnel vision when it come to this girl, and no other girl can appear in the pathway of that tunnel. And so when I see all of that falling apart, like the whole world a desolation, this is like when the children of Israel end up in the wilderness. You understand? Let me tell you.
Yeah.
That is, up until this day, that's my first real visit to hell. Got you. You understand? And I was determined not to go back there. I find myself at a crossroad. Two things. To avoid having to go back to that wilderness. Because you see, I cannot guarantee that the next relationship I'm going to go into, that the same thing cannot happen again. I have no guarantee in this life. So I'm saying, well, listen, if I'm going to have to face that possibilities, one or two things. Either I don't have anything to do with woman again, or the other thought that came to my mind was to find a new way to love. No, I didn't know they have any other way. I was loving the way I see everybody love. You understand? But I knew that I want to have children, so then I cannot not have anything to do with woman. So I ruled that out, and then I left. It was a binary. So I left now with finding a new way to love. Right. And you know, I start healing and healing really quick. By start wishing her and him well. Yep. Yeah. And I was doing it against the conscience of my feeling, of my emotion, so to speak. Yeah. Because my emotional conscience is saying, burn in hell. But you see, when I go that way, it sustains the pain. Mm-hmm. But when
Yeah.
I go by the way of wishing them well and say nobody mean to do me anything, it's my own thought, is I create the whole thing within my own mind, then I find it feel easier. The pain feel less. And I recovered really quick, and I learned that lesson, and I kept that lesson. So when I get into relationship, one the fundamental thing I want to do is for me and the woman to agree on purpose, because I need to take this relationship along the route of us finding self, go together like that. Because that way I don't have to give you specific instruction. You don't have to give me specific instruction. Love will be the instruction. And the things that love sponsors, that will be the things that you want to do for me and I want to do for you. Problem solved.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
said what I said earlier.
Go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
said you just articulated what I said earlier. You just said it in a different
True.
way, different language.
True, true.
Let me ask you something, Saran. I don't
go ahead.
know. I don't know the age of your viewership, but honestly, the problem we start out with is that we have been socialized to love in the incorrect way, and this is through music, through television, from our parents growing up. We even if we don't want to, we mimic what we see. So I
That's
encourage
true.
anybody, if you want to enter a relationship with someone and that person is of the same mindset, go to counseling, seek some professional guidance, whether it be spiritual, whether it be a psychiatrist, whatever the case. Seek some guidance in how to manage the relationship financially, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, from someone that has the experience, and then take it from there, and you'll wipe out 80% of the hassles you'll have stumbling along the way, trying to figure out each other, trying to gain knowledge of this while you're in there. Seek that knowledge out first together, and your life will be 100% smoother.
True.
Thank you.
And be
That's,
prepared to change.
I wanted to answer the
I
question.
wanna dial back just yes. Rock, go ahead. What was
I
your
wanted to answer the question that that you said that one of the people in the panel, what does a man qualities that a man would want in a woman?
in
You know,
this part?
So I'm gonna sum
Yeah,
it up
respect.
because most people, everybody, pretty much, said their take, which is extremely powerful. But I'm gonna sum it up. Most men like and love the divine feminine in a woman. That's
True.
very, very attractive, and that's what men are looking for in a woman. Not the feminine, but the divine feminine.
Got you. But I'm not
When you
gonna
say,
leave.
when,
I'm not
let
gonna
me say
leave you
one thing
here.
quickly.
Go ahead. Expand just a little bit.
Quickly. I'm not even expanding it really. I just want to say, just a while ago when he said he's going to sum it up, I was
Right.
really curious to hear what he was going to say to sum it up. But you really summed it up.
Right?
Thank you, my brother.
So tell us, what does the divine feminine mean to you? Because that's one of the things that we discussed 2 Sundays back.
To me,
I could tell you what the divine masculine is, but the divine feminine, you'll embody that naturally.
Yep.
So when you express it and let it out, you know what I'm saying?
Find it like that.
You know what I'm saying? Because you have women who, like what y'all was saying, like I was all saying in your discussions and in the conversations, that a lot of women, that is, are picking up on these masculine traits, and that was pointed out. You know what I'm saying? In discussions. So I cannot tell you and explain to you what the divine feminine is.
But when you see it,
do it and express it, that's very, very, very attractive. It's like having me under hypnosis, and y'all got that naturally. So you women know what that is.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
I think you were on the show for the last. Well, at least you saw it. It's the soft power.
I ain't hear you say that again.
Soft power. and of course it differs from person to person how it's expressed, but yeah, it's
Right.
definitely in that keeping. I do want to go back up for a question
Well,
that was
Well,
posed.
ho. Hang on. I want to answer that question because I think people need to hear this.
Oh, sorry.
So, a woman is not divine and cannot operate in her divine energy if she doesn't have knowledge of self, purpose, and consciousness.
positive,
You're just a woman.
True. It's just
So
positive.
biology.
you don't even know what divine is.
True.
And if you don't know what divine is, how can you behave divinely?
True. True.
True.
Endorsed.
Positive.
I mean, you say
And
that.
so a king understands what a divine woman is. It's the way she walks. It's the way she talks. It's her mannerism, her charm, her charisma, her eloquence, her elegance,
Right on.
her radiance, her beauty.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
When we get in that presence, we know.
It's soft and sultry. It's not masculine. It moves gracefully.
Right.
I love it. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go back to one of the questions that one of the questions that was posed before. It was okay. Oh, so why do most men prefer subservient women over an educated woman?
I don't know what you're
Who
talking about.
who wants to
Wait,
rock
wait.
that one?
I'll answer
Seriously.
that. I'll answer that.
Okay,
It's
go ahead,
it's
Win,
it, it,
because I'm clueless.
it's we love educated women, but we don't love women who lead with their education. And when I mean lead with their education, meaning they're putting it in your face as if they're superior to you. And so
Right.
there is a way of being that reflects that. And we don't like that way of being, and we don't like that negative energy.
Good point.
Bottom line.
Right on. Yeah,
Got
that's right.
It's
That's right.
masculine and it's other than self. A woman should not behave in that manner.
you. Got you. Got you. Anybody else want to jump on that?
That's deep.
Yeah,
What
I underscore Win on that one, really. You know what I mean? Yeah, for real. I personally, I love, I'm kind of like, what they call it? Sapiosexual.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I had a kind of vibration, same way, understand? But at the same time, if there's a person that, they're not all brainy and intellectual and all that, but they're humble, simple, and, willing to learn and grow and do stuff like that.
Oh boy.
Lost
you
him.
My
froze up.
reason to go into a
Okay, now
relationship
you're
is
good.
also to help the other person to go spiritually. I am aware, so once I enter into a relationship with another person, awareness is going to automatically be a part of the agenda. Automatic. And if you're not dealing with that side of yourself, we're not going to last very, very, very long.
We're gonna have those deep discussions. Yep.
Yeah, because that must be front and center, because you see, that's the way I assure myself of you, not by looking at you, not by hearing you articulate who you are with all kind of personal way. Once I know your foundation, then I know you. And
Right.
at our most essential state, all of us are the same thing. You see? We're all that spiritual energy having a human experience. That energy
Right.
does not have a personality from one to another. It is one. So you
Right.
see, once we come to know one another on that level, once you know yourself on that level, it's like you know everybody in a matter of speaking. You almost can say potentially what this person would or would not do. Like there are people that I know that if you come and tell me, oh, this person did so, I can tell you, no. No, not this person.
Yeah.
You know their character like that. You understand? And when you know a person through awareness, you know them in a way that you don't have trust issue and all these things.
Mhm.
Another thing that I learned is we use the language, like I'll say my empress or my queen or whatever the story might be. This my thing, I ain't really take it on too keen.
Yeah.
Because this my thing is speaking to
Correct.
possession.
Ownership. Right.
Yeah.
You see? So I really, the way I look at the other person is that, listen, I'm grateful that you choose to share your life with me.
Yep.
You understand? And I'm dealing with you with the kind of respect and so forth to show gratitude for you to do such. And whenever you reach a point that you don't want to share no more for whatever reason, I give thanks and wish you love and wish you well.
As it should be.
As it should
And
be.
Absolutely.
I had to bring myself to a certain level of emotional maturity
Right
to be
on.
able to actually do that. Not just say that and sound sweet, but
Yeah.
True,
do it.
true, true.
Mhm. And yeah, it's both on Zoom and on Facebook, and in fact, some people sending WhatsApp messages
Yeah.
too. I just want to know y'all have the attention and everybody's in agreement.
Saran,
There's a lot of Ashe wind, Ashe this, and Ashe that on both Facebook and Zoom, and also private messages coming in.
Saran, let me
Thank
say something about the question you had just now. Win responded to it perfectly. I believe what the general question that most educated, well-off women have is why do most men not like women of power? And the problem is we don't like when our energy is matched by a woman.
Got you.
That's the whole problem, is that's the whole problem there summarized. If you're matching our energy, there's a problem. Because a man and man is naturally a conflicting thing. Men are competitive by nature with each other. So if you have two male energies existing or two masculine energies existing in the same space, it's competition.
Yeah.
It's gonna lead to the downfall of the relationship.
Got you. Got you. Rock, do you want to add on anything to that?
Wow. I mean, I believe that, I mean, women with power and everything, as long as that a man is not intimidated by it, and you know what I'm saying, and and you know your proper role, and you know with your masculine energy, your masculine role, and you express that with her, I believe that she'll fall right in line into place. But if you show any kind of like chinks in your armor, insecurities, and all of that for her education and all of that, that's when I think the relationship could kind of like be a little troubling. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? As long as a man could stay grounded in his masculinity and you know what I'm saying, and actually not be intimidated by it, you know what I'm saying, and still, you know what I mean, express his masculine role as a man. I don't care what kind of education she got. I don't care how much money she making. She'll still fall in line as a woman. As long as he's expressing his masculinity as divine, you know what I mean, everything will be all right. But if it's chinks in the armor, such as insecurities and all of that, then that's where the rift, you know what I'm saying, or the disagreements to start coming in and all of that.
Got
Yeah.
you. So let's switch gears yet again. And we're going to go on the topic of sexuality.
Mm.
Of course, we
Well,
know.
we talked about this earlier off the record. You talk,
Yes.
we okay. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if we're gonna go there, but
Yeah,
I want to hear you say.
we're going to have an honest conversation.
Okay, go ahead.
So when we think about sexuality, and I think somebody had mentioned it in the comments on Facebook about the notion is that men are often just after sex, right? So let's let
Mm.
that concept sit just a little bit. And how do you push back against it if you do? What is your thought on sexuality and women and sex in general?
let me
Well, that's how we all got here.
True.
If it wasn't for you just mentioned, none of us would be here.
and that's where I was going with this. Let me add on to that.
Let Win talk on this, man.
So ladies, you ought not be offended whatsoever that men want sex. It is innate in us. It is a part of who we are as human beings. And that is nothing. There is nothing that you can do or anybody else can do about that. So you could just get that out your head.
Straight.
Well, I would like to say.
Hold on. Let me complete that.
Okay, sure.
What the question should be is, how do we vet the men that we dealing with? How do we properly vet so that you won't have to deal with some of that nonsense?
That's a question we can answer.
Exactly.
True.
That's a more powerfully stated question, because you know, at the end of the day, men are gonna want that. You know what I mean? That's just what it is.
And women too. You got to just know how to bring it out of them where they want it. Where they want it just as bad as you,
and I'm
or
quite
even
sure
more.
the women on the panel are like, yeah, but we do too.
Well, I make sure that the woman, when I'm dealing with a woman, I make sure she wants to have sex with me more than I want to have sex with her.
As it should be.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Say that again. Say that again, Mark.
I said
one more time.
I said that when I'm with a woman, I'm gonna make sure that the woman wants to have sex with me more than I want to have sex with her. So we wouldn't have that problem. Because women want sex just as much as men, even more. But you have to bring it out with your masculine, again, you know what I'm saying, certain things that you do.
More women should be on the panel. We had Queen's Court.
So let me speak to what Dawn is talking about. She said that sex is a responsibility. You know, sex in itself is just, you know, it's just sexual interaction, sexual intercourse, you know, between two human beings. There's no necessarily responsibility right there, because that's just act between animals. But like real love and caring for, now that's a responsibility.
Yep.
And one of the problems is that most people are having sex and not having love. That's the problem with the relationships, because everybody out there just exchanging currency and doing all sorts of craziness.
Yeah.
Got you.
That's true.
Go ahead.
But yeah, well, I was saying to Rock earlier, he sounds like he's a guru. but I subscribe. I subscribe to what you say. I do subscribe to that. To me, listen, when you love somebody, you're going to want to get involved with them. You understand? So, usually, I mean, at least where a person is really serious about a relationship, that is going to manifest. And that cannot always be interpreted as, okay, all the man wants to sex. You understand? That's going to happen naturally. You understand? But I do understand. I recognize that, listen, man out the road, some man do it, but you see, these things come from our culture. The music. Some of the artists and them talk about they have y'all in a bungle and all about the place. A woman pack up the front line. A woman pack up the front line there, the show.
Yes.
Yeah.
With their hand in the ear.
Yes, very true.
You understand? So if you yourself celebrate that kind of vibe, because in a lot of cases, some of the women and them, I guess, they also spread it out too. So you understand the game going both ways.
Well, let me
talk
explain
about
what I
what
meant.
Russ said.
What I meant is not what you're talking about. What I meant is pretty much foreplay. And foreplay, women are like,
No,
wow,
I get you. I get you. Trust me.
you know what I'm
That's a
saying?
wrap.
I'm not doing that kind of stuff. You know, I'll be 50. You know what I'm saying, at the end of this month. So, you know what I'm talking about. Foreplay doesn't just start in the bedroom. It starts with, you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying, because women they're different than men as far as being turned on. So a man could just jump right in and boom. A woman has to be turned on, and is a slower process, and you have to have patience in order to get her in that position to want to have sex with you more than you want to have sex with her.
Got you. Gavin, you wanted to add on
I
that?
agree.
No, I have a question here. Well, a comment
Yeah,
that
I just wanted.
I need to pull right quick.
I just wanted to be a little bit more clearer. That's all.
I just wanted to build on
Yeah.
Women are
what Russ
different.
and Win said.
You gotta take your time with them. Yeah.
Yeah,
You have
I
to
just
have
wanted
the
to build on what Russ and Win
most
said.
men just want to jump right in and they're not even turned on. They're
Nope.
dry. You like, whoa, you know what I'm saying? You gotta, you know what I'm saying? You gotta have that, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Okay. Yeah,
Gavin,
that's what I'm saying, my
Gavin,
brother.
go ahead.
respect.
I'm not talking about that music stuff and none of that. Nah, man. Nah.
No.
Just,
I got you
just
correctly. Don't worry. I'm going to ask you a question now. And after your answer, we can move on to Gavin because he wants to say something. Would I be correct to say that you are a 50 Shade of Grey kind of guy?
Nah, man. No. 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 No, man. No.
wait, you pulling out the handcuffs, man.
Nah, man. Nah.
I'm in the
Gavin,
red room in the back of the house.
Nah, you know what I'm
Gavin,
saying?
Gavin,
Now,
are you ready for us?
now, a lot of things women like that men are not aware of, you know what I'm saying? And they don't know, but that 50 Shades of Grey, nah, that's too over the top. Nah, that's way out there. No. Nah, but I can't give away the game. I got, you know what I'm saying? You know, I'm not gonna go
respect.
No, we're talking private about that, man. We're talking private about that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Gavin. Let me
Yeah,
hear you
but
because I
Yeah,
don't
no,
want to
Gavin.
get
no,
Gavin.
not at all. But I do.
That was a light moment.
But to answer your question, though, I kind of like do know what women do like that most men aren't aware of, and it's masculine, and you know most men aren't aware of what
we'll have,
women secretly like, but they'll never admit it to a man. He has to know it instinctively.
got you, Gavin, because I do want to get back to a comment that was made by Dawn.
Just to build on what Win and Russ said. Win was correct in revamping the question. Okay, it's about vetting the men that you're allowing into your life that only desire sexual intercourse. So you need to be able to figure that out. And the easiest way to figure that out is a man that only wants sex will not be willing to invest long term in you. Whether it be mental, emotional, physically, or financially.
Right.
He will not. Every
That's right.
single thing would be temporary or moment or in the moment.
Okay, so the comment that was posted a few minutes back, it was most men only fulfill themselves sexually. Most time, women are left unfulfilled.
That's not a man.
I know it's not a man.
You're talking
How do
about
you
a boy.
respond to that?
You're talking about a boy, so we can't answer that. You have a panel of
Gavin,
Oh,
men.
you can't touch that one, Gavin.
You have a panel of men
Can't touch
here,
that one.
so we can't answer that.
But you see, the beauty about the conversation is that, most men do not know how to turn a woman on sexually. Men need to learn about a woman's body, etc. Men need to stop watching X-rated movies and expect women to perform from it.
Saran, I'm going to repeat exactly what I just said a little while ago. Let me repeat exactly what I just said. You're talking about boys, not men.
There we go.
Men have experience. And the fundamental part of a man's sexual experience is that you learn your partner so that she has, to use a Ras term, full enjoyment of the situation before you get to your full enjoyment. And therefore, you know you can go back because you've already set the standard.
Let me take a different angle at it, and let me go back to what the Rasta said earlier. What was beautiful, what you said, is the word no. In the Bible, in the original Bible, it doesn't even say the word marriage. But what it does say is that a man knew him. The woman he knew her. Yeah. So that knowing is a 360-degree learning of somebody over time.
Yeah.
You can't be with somebody, or you shouldn't be with somebody that you don't know and you don't trust.
I mean, if you want to get all direct and deep into it, if you look at sex as just, just an in-out situation, then you're looking at it from a perspective in experience. I mean, just to be candid,
true.
A woman's passage has so many different avenues, different points that a man can reach, that can gain her satisfaction. That a man has to be consciously aware of what he's doing in the act.
Absolutely.
And his mind has to be set towards giving her satisfaction, making her feel good. Because at the end of the day, the man is in, he's happy. He's already enjoying himself. But the conscious and subconscious mind is looking to please her and show the appreciation for the fact that this was allowed. And that's how man thinks.
Well, he may be enjoying himself too much, where he might explode too quickly.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I said. You gotta get a separation of thought there.
Let me put it to you this way. Only conscious people to a particular extent can have really, really phenomenal sex.
Yep.
Right.
And when I say conscious, I'm not just talking about Black consciousness, but I'm talking about consciousness of self, of other people's bodies.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I see some.
Yeah, that's true.
You gotta read everything.
Very true. That's an important.
Just like
let me say this.
Sorry, Wayne. Go ahead.
Getting back to your knowing, like I said earlier, love is a commitment. That is the overarching. That's the top of the umbrella of the relationship. But the everyday that everybody is missing is that you have to like that person. For sustainability, you have to like who you with. That means that you're communicating effectively with that person, that you open to doing that, and you trust that person, and that person trusts you. That's the only way that you can have an effective relationship. That's the only way that you can have some phenomenal fucking sex.
Yeah. Yeah, that little love get root strong as well too. When me and the woman can reason, I mean that almost as good as sex for me already. Once me and the woman can combine, so can sit down and reason and go far like that, it's over, man.
So
there
were what these women are saying.
I need that connectivity. I do not need to just connect with you on a physical level.
Oh,
you understand? I don't need to have access to your body alone.
Yeah, that's deep.
Body, mind, and spirit.
You see?
That's real satisfaction. That's
and I'm giving you full access to mine too. So it's not like, well, I want to get into your business and you stay out of mine.
Right.
You know?
And that's true satisfaction.
I'm trying to figure out, how do we get the queens and the kings on one panel?
Wow. I want to know what these women are saying. That'd be awesome.
I mean,
I'm
looking at the time now. We're actually approaching.
That's a
We're
good idea.
approaching 2 hours. We're approaching 2 hours. So I just let me see. Females need to tell and teach their man what they want and stop thinking that men should know. That's one of the comments. How can men learn over time? Especially most black men are having sex with more than 10 women. Oh God.
Hold on 1 second. You can go to university and study multiple subjects and get all A's. So that's not even a discussion. But to get serious about it, that's a good thing and also a bad thing because it brings into account expectation.
Mm-hmm.
Some women have unnatural expectations of men because one, we're human beings. Two, we may not be Olympic athletes. Three, we may not be the fictional characters you're seeing on movies or you're reading in your books. Mm-hmm. And women gobble down these books and movies, you know what I mean? Yeah. 50 Shades was one of the highest grossing movies of its year. I'm not pulling out the handcuffs. So I ain't going to be pulling out the whip and ain't even a safe word.
Right.
So, yeah.
But you know what, though? These women, they go to the, to touch on what you're saying, you know, I go to the library and the bookstore because, you know, I'm into books a lot. And I notice in the romance novels section, you have mad women buying books there and getting books. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
The romance novels section to me is like what porn is. You know, the romance section novel books to women are like what porn is to men.
Yep.
They believe this stuff. They be into the romance novels and what men, you know what I'm saying? That's their fantasy. Not only 50 Shades of Grey, but there's a whole bunch of them.
That's a fact because men are visual and women are emotional.
Emotional, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's these books, though. They're looking at these books like men look at porn. And they're like embodying it, these romance novels, man.
Yeah, because it's that emotional stimulation.
Oh,
yes, that's what it is. And then the visual, like Wynn said, the visual, the thing for porn for men.
Got you. So thank you for breaking that down. Okay.
That's why that emotional. He held her so tenderly, and that type of emotional.
Oh,
I mean that, and all that comes into understanding. You have to know the person you're with.
Saran, thank you, Wynn. Wow,
mind blown.
Yeah, but like I said, you have to understand the person you're with, and at the end of the day, their expectations what you get from them cannot be about expectations. It has to be about you expressing what you desire, knowing what they're capable of, and what you're going to get in return. Men will always be willing to try something, but if it falls outside of their personality or their comfort zone, you gotta respect that. The same thing with a man to a woman. I may want to be doing something with you, but if you're not comfortable, I need to respect that. And if that's the linchpin that's gonna break the relationship, then it wasn't the relationship.
Mm-hmm. So, okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. Y'all have the place. Yeah.
Hey, was there any questions that the women had?
Yes. Well, the last one was from the comment section.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, it was the comment on 10 women. The fact that
well, I want to touch on that real fast. The 10 women, the reason why men and women are attracted to those type of men, because, all right, if you think about it, a woman only has one egg per month. A man produces 5,000 sperm, and a man could get 10 women pregnant, or 20 women pregnant, 30, 40, 50 women pregnant at the same time, and a woman can only have a baby with one egg, and it takes 9 long months. So in primal days, in ancient days, the men who are desirable were able to attract these women with whatever person, you know what I'm saying, and they impregnate all of these women. You know what I'm saying? It's deep because a man has so many sperm and he could get so many women pregnant. Because if this planet was only with one man, one woman, it'd be a whole lot of and I'm talking in primal, like, ancient times. Even, what I'm saying, it's more women, as we know, on the planet than men. So if every man was with just one woman, it'll be a lot of miserable women out there. So the men who have like more than one wives in ancient time, or the men who's juggling 10 women at the same, you know what I'm saying? That's all primal. You know what I'm saying? Because it was impossible for every man to be with one woman, because there's more women on the planet, and it always has been more women on the planet than men. So by
I
men
got
having
you,
more than
Rock.
one wife, like in ancient time, was a service to women. You know what I'm saying? Because if he just stuck with one man, you have a lot of women with that has no access to a man.
Okay,
Hey,
so it
Saran,
would be
Sir,
remiss of me. It would be remiss of me if I didn't, I don't want to say push back, but if I didn't throw something in the air, with exactly what you said, Rock, going back to the ancient times.
Oh yeah.
Now,
guys,
but
let me
let's
answer this
talk
one,
about the
please. Please
ancient
let me
times.
answer this one.
Let's not limit our scope of ancient times, because I think oftentimes we do so, right? And let's entertain the original form of contraception. So that's me kind of pushing back on what you said, the original form. So when you say, he was able to impregnate multitudes and all that kind of stuff, the original form was never up to the woman. Are we on the same page with that?
Oh, got you. Got you. But back then, oh, got you. Okay, I see what you said. That's a good point. Yeah, I'm
And
on the
then
same point. I
that
never even thought
means
about that. That's a good point.
I think
Wow.
oftentimes we throw out that, oh, the woman only has one egg and all that, but the responsibility in terms of conception. And when you think about that, the justification for having a whole multitude, a whole
Saran, I
army
have
of
an answer
women
for you.
is minimized,
I have an
because
answer
the
for you.
original form was actually up to the man. It was ejaculation, but that's something that we have done away with. And when we reflect on ancient times, that's a conversation that we don't have.
Mm.
So I'm just saying, to reconcile that was okay or whatever,
Saran, let me give you
you
something to
have
think
to put
about.
those factors into consideration as well.
Let me give you something to think about, Saran. All right. If you look at the world today, and we'll go historically, we won't go to ancient times, but we go historically.
Yeah,
Women have always outnumbered men historically.
right.
That
Oh,
being the case, when Africans were westernized, that is when monogamy came into play.
oh.
Okay?
Young, I
Great.
started
Hold
monogamy
on.
at 158.
Hold on. Let me finish. Let me finish.
Not an
When
hour and
African,
58 in.
we
No,
go, we go coming. We go coming. When
I will
Africans were
not allow it.
westernized, hear me out. Hear me out. When Africans were westernized, that's when monogamy came into our societies.
Right.
Before that point, a man had multiple wives, but in another
You see?
You froze
You
up.
see, you
Dang.
see that's
Come on, you gotta
divine
come back. You gonna come back.
intervention.
you had
Gavin, you're frozen.
Oh,
That's
you
divine
frozen, man.
intervention, perhaps.
Dang.
Because polygamy, that whole concept is one that takes a lot of time.
hello,
And we're
Mm.
at 2 hours in. And so we do need to
hello,
I want to get women outnumbered men, because half of the men.
hello.
Oh,
Yeah, you blanked out there.
Don, you're choking me today.
You blanked out there for a second. But what last did you hear from me?
um it was at the point when you started saying that after we were westernized,
Okay. After we were
that's
westernized
when
is
we
when monogamy came
adopted
into play.
monogamous relationships.
Yeah, that's when monogamy came into play. That it was not the case in Africa. It was not the case in societies outside of Europe past that point. Now, monogamy was practiced in Africa, but it was practiced the right way. It wasn't a side chick thing. It wasn't a girlfriend thing. It was a wife. That woman was acknowledged as being your wife. being
True.
brought onto you by it within the eyes of God and society. You
True
had to be
indeed.
able to financially, emotionally, and mentally support this additional woman in your life. This additional woman was known to your first, second, third, or whatever amount of women you decide. And it was a
Wow.
family unit.
Mm-hmm.
And
True
that is
indeed.
how it was properly practiced. But because we are westernized, that was demonized. And you know what came into play? The side chick, the concubine, the lady in waiting. Those were Western things because the king would have his queen and have his concubines. The aristocrat would have his wife and then have his brothel ladies. That was the white thing because they kept everything in secret, whereas in Africa, things were upfront,
That's true.
noted, documented, and accepted within the community.
That's true. Even in the Bible, in the Old Testament,
The
We're
Bible
it
not
talks
says
about
going
the
no
man with more
further
than one
on
wife.
polygamy. This has to be a conversation that we have another time because
Wow.
that's ever
just
giving.
putting
That's
out
ever
facts.
giving. I do want
Just
to
putting facts.
huh?
Just putting out facts.
I mean, I hear you loud and clear, Gavin. I hear you loud and clear. I just know that once we start that, the comment section is gonna go with, oh, people going to feel bad if I don't feed the questions in and things like that.
Oh,
But
okay.
I do.
I have
in
heard
keeping-
certain female even criticize that side chick kind of situation in favor of the African way where all the women are honored as being wives.
As if
And you see the comments coming in. I cannot wait for the polygamy discussion. I know that in and of itself can be a very lengthy talk.
Yeah, I know.
So in fairness,
You got to get
I'm
the kings
reading
and the
the thing
queens
on the
together.
general term, but personally, I don't seek after more than one.
got you.
Personally. But
Well, let me-
I don't go criticizing guys that are one or two differences. I have a couple brethren that actually do that. And they reason with me about these ladies and so on, and they care about them.
Right.
You know, it's not a use them for little meat kind of story. They really care about them.
correct.
Wind.
Well, let me
Yeah.
let me put it like this. You know, from a spiritual or emotional perspective, if a man is able to attract 10 women alone, obviously he's ultra magnetic, right?
Yeah.
So he's in high demand.
Yeah, that's in today's time also. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's just what it is. I mean, at the end of the day, men will choose, a male will choose whatever unconsciously, but a man, as Gavin and Iceern has been talking about, real men do real things. They make real choices. Men, they go all over all over the earth and destroy and wander the world aimlessly and doing stupid whatever ish.
I mean,
So,
we all
so
grown,
the point is going back. You got to vet the person.
You use profanity. We all grown.
Yeah. At the end of the day, you gotta take more responsibility about vetting these people, as opposed to blaming people, because blaming somebody will never get you anywhere. But the only person that you can correct is yourself.
Correct. Correct.
Well, one thing I did learn about, and this is many years ago when I used to deal with more than one woman. When I told them about each other and I didn't lie, they was all okay with it. To be totally honest with you, is that the rift is when, like, what you know what I'm saying, Gavin was talking about, is like, even in ancient times it was all up front. You know what I'm saying? If you're up front with women, you're totally honest. You know what I'm saying? Either they accept it or they're like, I'm leaving you. You know what I'm saying? So I've, you know what I'm saying, a long time ago when I used to do that, I've always was straight up with my women. I never ever like lie. You know what I'm saying? I say, hey, look, check this out. I'm dealing with you and other women, and I'm trying to find the right one who's going to be my one and only wife.
Got you.
I have done that, but that was many, many years ago. You know
We
what I'm saying?
understand, man. We understand.
And the women,
respect.
and I'm just saying, no, guys are being manipulative with women. You know what I'm saying? They lying and all of that, then get caught. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you really don't have to do that. You know what I'm saying? Or most men do that. You know what I'm saying? Like in ancient times, you said in Africa, when cats had more, when brothers, men, kings had more, or whoever had more than one wife, it was open about it. It was open decree. You know what I'm saying? It was known they had more than one wife, and you know what I'm saying? You know, people aren't being honest. You know what I'm
And
saying?
the comment section is pretty much saying, yeah, the truth makes the difference. And also, I'm seeing we need to do a combination of the king and queen ASAP.
Thank you.
We'll see. I mean, there's a max on StreamYard. It's a maximum of 6.
Hey, we got
no, we got to get it. Well, we got to have more. Come on now, we got to have the kings of the crazy with this technology y'all got. You know what I'm saying? Thank you, Wind. You know what I'm saying? With this, you know what I'm saying? Thank you, Saran. You know what I'm saying? Thank you, you already Rasta. Thank you, Gavin. Because this technology, y'all could do it. I saw Wind and Saran, you know what I'm saying, doing the technology. Y'all got it. Y'all could do it. You know what I'm saying?
We're going to see how we can make it work.
I was going to say, we're going to have that on pay-per-view.
Oh, yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, so yeah.
Now, in keeping with the conversation that we have every time, it's always about or somehow linked to wellness.
Oh,
so
yeah.
My last question, because it's 2 hours and 7 minutes in. My last question is, well, from a very personal perspective, how do you, and of course it differs from person to person, how do you enhance, how do you ensure that you're protecting your wellness as a man?
Whoa. That's the number one thing. Health is the number one wealth. Whoa.
You want to start, Rod? What you got?
Yo, that's deep.
What is in your arsenal?
Well, I mean, you know what I'm saying, my brother, you know what I'm saying, Jalil, when he put me on to you, I saw you on a Zoom call a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago or two, and you was talking about the health, and I was like, wow, and I was taking notes, all the health things you was having, and I was like, yo, you know what I'm saying? So I have to do better with my health. You know what I'm saying? I grew up not eating no pork because, I grew up as a Hebrew Israelite. I go by the Old Testament laws. That's why I don't eat pork, because of the laws in the Old Testament where it forbids me to eat pork and other things. But when I was watching you, you know what I'm saying, about the wellness, I have to do better with my health, because the health is the number one thing over everything else we talked about. And I saw you breaking down the science in one of your Zooms, and I was like, wow, that's what got me following you. I was like, yo, you know what I'm saying? So to sum it up, you know what I'm saying, not to talk and let everybody else get a chance, I got to do better with my wellness and my health.
Okay. I got you. Got you. I appreciate the compliment, Rock.
You most welcome. Word. I'm serious.
Wow. Sorry, repeat the question for me, please.
What is in your arsenal bag for your personal wellness? How do you, upkeep your structure, your physical, emotional, spiritual, whichever body you want to speak on?
Well, I need to get with the program with a physical, exercise program personally. You understand? So I am out of it where that is concerned. I don't know, ever since I started this journey, we come to engaging up here, that's ongoing, and that, that's a fire that cannot quench like with me, you understand? So I engage, I have a very curious mind, and I follow certain things. Like I would want to know, okay, how we come up with the word of God, how you know the word of God from any other word, given it is coming out of the same human entity. Why do we ascribe certain words that come out of this one entity to something called a God, and then the rest of the words we say, well, it came from you? How do we qualify that, So stuff like that will cause me now to go further in my thinking to unravel how we come up with this word of God, this idea of this word of God. And quite simply, it really comes down to a vote on these words. Because you see, what is canonized or what is considered to be the word of God. There are many different sacred writings that did not make it into the Bible. And they are not considered to be word of God. But if you read them, the information is similar in character to what's in the Bible. I mean, if it was in the Bible, you wouldn't have an argument. You understand? You wouldn't see any contrast. You see, so I go about these things and I try to help other people to understand these kind of things so that they can find themselves and so forth. You know what I mean? I'm into a lot of information, a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? All kind of stuff. I'm into the sovereignty thing. You know, all kind of stuff.
Gavin, what's in your toolkit for your wellness?
One of my main things is grow the mind, feed the mind, increase in the amount of knowledge you have about varying things, engage different people in discussion, gain a better understanding of yourself as an individual and people as a whole. Doesn't matter, male, female, whatever is the new trending thing right now. Also, take care of yourself physically. And you need to exercise, you need to eat properly. I encourage anybody to go to aim towards a vegan lifestyle or to at least incorporate more vegetables and water and so on into their diets. And one of the most important things, and I don't think people give the level of importance necessary to it, your emotional health is extremely important because it affects you mentally and physically. So look at where you are emotionally, look at the people around you, see how they feed your emotions, and vet accordingly. If someone angers you or consistently disappoints you, or learn to cut people out, because at the end of the day, it's better for you.
Got you. Thank you, Gavin. Thank you.
Yeah,
Wind.
So
You want to close us out on that one?
Yeah, if you would do a survey amongst men, most men will tell you that the number one thing that they want in their life is peace. And so as men, we are responsible for not only having the onus of somebody else making us happy, but we have the onus ourselves to bring peace to our lives by the choices that we make. And every single day I make certain that to get to that peace, I go out and get some fresh air and smell and sniff the fresh air. I make sure that I go see the sun and greet the sun. And what reminds me that everything is impossible and the power of man, which I'm a part of, which you are a part of, is I look at the abundance of the water. I look at the skyscrapers that men have built. I look at airplanes that men fly at 700 miles per hour in the sky. All you got to do is look around and see the beauty and power of man. And once you do that, you'll respect yourself, you'll love yourself, and you'll act accordingly.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kings. I can't say that I'm surprised that we haven't covered everything that I wanted us to touch on. I can't say that I'm shocked. Same thing happened last time around. So I do want to issue a formal invitation to have you guys back for part 2. I will schedule the date because there are lots of questions that we didn't get an opportunity to touch on, but I want to thank you so much for your sharing. I think too often the platform isn't given to men for them to honestly share. Whether or not we agree or we disagree on whatever topic, it's important for us to have that continuous dialogue. And so for you guys saying yes right away and jumping on board, I am very, very grateful. I'm very, very grateful. I appreciate the sharing because it's not something that's normalized to get into a man's psyche, to get into his thoughts and things like that. So I'm very, 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 very grateful. Honored to have you all four on the platform tonight. And
You're most welcome.
part two, we have to do it. And then after that, we'll try and figure out how we get kings and queens together after we master all of the technologies and things like that. We'll figure it out because I think conversation now, wellness is what I do. And so for some persons, you come on my lives and it's usually talking about parasites, constipation, and different physical ailments. But like I always say, we're not just physical bodies, we're whole people. And in keeping with that wholeness, it's important for us to have these conversations so that we can examine how we relate to each other, especially getting the male's perspective on it. Because like I said, it's usually an assumed perspective. So I'm very grateful for you guys for joining me today. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. For those who are looking for physical assistance in terms of rock, the detox coming up in July. Jump on board. That's all I'm saying.
I'm working on it. I got to change. I'm about to be 50 at the end of this month, so I got to do it.
I see. That's a good gift to give yourself then.
Yes.
But again, gratitude, endless gratitude. Thank you all for sharing honestly and for bringing the essence of the divine masculine.
Thank you too, Sarah. Thank you too, brothers.
Thank you so much. Again, I'll reach out to everybody and I will confirm a date and we jump on board. Next time we're going to have technology down packed so we won't be late. But even in our lateness,
we here. We made it. We'll talk about that.
That was what we got, and it was
beautiful. We're dwelling on that lateness. We did it.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. For those on Zoom, for those of you, I mean, enough respect to be on a device where you can't see who's talking and you've stuck with me throughout the late start and all that, even though you guys were on early. Thank you. And with gratitude, I'm going to bid you guys farewell. And guess what, people, before y'all log off, guess what's coming next week? It's Queen Things Part 2. So don't miss it.
I'm going to check that out.
Of our conversation, it's one not to be missed. Thank you so much for everybody who participated in the comment section. I know I didn't get to everybody's feedback and contribution, but my heart acknowledged everything you said. And it is with gratitude that I bid you farewell, wishing you a powerful week until we unite again next Sunday at 6 p.m. sharp. Peace and blessings, everybody. Kings, gratitude. Thank you for warming, for making my day so much better. I was counting down to this, and just like with the queens, I'm going to be high for a little while because it feels good to get that interaction and to get that energy flowing. So thank you. Peace and blessings, everybody. Until
next. Peace and blessings to everybody, too.
Peace.
Peace and blessings.
Love and respect.